You ever listen to someone's music and think, man, this guy is a straight up clone of Soudier, or a clone of DJ Smokey, or Roland Jones, or whoever? Well, as someone who listens to funk every day, that thought crosses my mind quite a lot. Part of the reason producers like Roland Jones and Soudier have so many clones is because their unique styles have earned them a lot of influence in the community. Attaining that level of influence isn't easy, but for smaller producers, one of the quickest ways to grow your influence is by joining a collective of like-minded creators, just like Roland Jones did right before his big come-up. Now obviously one of the biggest reasons to join a collective is just to have mutual support from the other members, whether it be through reposts, collabs, or whatever. But at the end of the day, a collective can be so much more, and the group that scouted Roland Jones has shown just that. Texas-based producer Emune started Always Proper out of his friend's bedroom in early 2014. With him being one of the most prominent up-and-comers in the lo-fi hip-hop scene, it makes sense that his collective started out with strong emphasis on that genre. If you're a longtime listener of AP, you might remember that in the early days, their releases were few and far between, with La Familia debuting in late 2015 and their second tape, Bumps and Bruises 1, dropping over a year later in early 2017. So what exactly was the group up to from 2014 to 16? After all, a lot of the tracks on Bumps and Bruises 1 had already been released, so it couldn't have required that much preparation. In the digital age, most artists and groups start their careers by consistently posting music online, then going on tour once their audience is large enough to justify it. But Always Proper flipped this model on its head by devoting most of their first few years to live performances rather than releasing music. Obviously, this isn't the easiest route to take, but it certainly helped that Texas is one of the hip-hop capitals of the world. It also helped that many members were not only based in Texas, but some of them, like Emune and Deli, had already built up decent audiences online. As a result, AP was even able to perform at South by Southwest, one of the largest music festivals in the world. While other collectives like Purple Posse spent their first couple years building an audience by dropping tapes on SoundCloud, Always Proper was building hype through a steady takeover of Texas's lo-fi hip-hop scene. A byproduct of this decision was that their recruitment also prioritized Texas-based producers. By early 2016, about a quarter of the members were based in Texas. This trend has pretty much stayed consistent throughout the years too. Since then, about a quarter of all new recruits have been from Texas as well. Given all the new recruits that have joined since then, it's easy to see that AP's roster has undergone quite a few changes since its inception. Early on, the collective was packed with lo-fi and boom-bap legends like Deli, Mujo, and Tuscan, formerly Sand People. So it's no surprise that when their first tapes hit SoundCloud, AP was a lo-fi powerhouse. Just a couple months after dropping their first tape, the group surpassed 8,000 followers on SoundCloud in early 2016. The group rode this wave into 2017, not only dropping the first installment in the Therapy Session series, but also issuing an extended vinyl edition of La Familia. Then in early 2018, Bumps and Bruises 2 brought with it the debut of 10 new recruits. This new wave of talent added an experimental twist to the mix, with Emune introducing his house alias, DJ Tired. With this tape, the collective was also beginning to dip its toes into the funk scene, with two of the new recruits being some of the hottest up-and-coming funk producers at the time, Scoochie and Hymbeats. Hymbeats wouldn't be the first member of Purple Posse to be scouted by AP either. Just a couple months later, Gravy would debut on Therapy Sessions Volume 2 under his Garage House alias DJ Fanta. At this point, AP's roster had changed quite a bit, with Therapy Sessions Volume 2's lineup looking starkly different from that of Volume 1, despite being only a few months apart. According to Emune, many of AP's legacy members like Lungfuls and Scissorwork had started asking to get paid for their streams, with some later alleging that Emune had maliciously withheld streaming revenue. Things were getting serious, so with money on the line, Emune began issuing contracts to AP members in May of 2018. This contract seemed to include some sort of exclusivity agreement because many of the members, especially the more prominent ones, would never be seen on an AP tape again. It was also around the same time that Emune parted ways with Purple Posse, which was a big deal since he had been a part of the group since issue 4 dropped in 2016. If there was an exclusivity agreement in the contract, it doesn't look like it applied to aliases, however, with Gravy continuing to appear on AP tapes under DJ Fanta for another few months. I think this contract was a critical turning point for Always Proper. You could tell from the tapes leading up to this point that Emune had started embracing the funk sound. After all, he was the first to introduce funk to AP's discography with his track Bumpin' Al Green on Bumps and Bruises 2. So it makes sense that he gradually started recruiting more funk producers to help him bring more of that Memphis influence into the tapes. At this point, that sound was still pretty much limited to himself, hymbeats, and Scoochie. But now that many of AP's more prominent lo-fi members had left, there was more room for that segment of the collective to flourish. This started with the recruitment of Kilfiger, who debuted on Therapy Sessions Volume 3, which was quickly followed up by Roland Jones's big debut on Volume 4. The wave of recruitments that followed would strongly reflect this new era for AP, with the group's original lo-fi influences becoming less and less apparent. One notable exception to that was German lo-fi producer Baresi, who would remain on the roster until his final appearance on La Familia Part 2 in November of 2019. Since the recruitment of Roland Jones in 2018, Always Proper's particular style of funk has evolved too. Over time, many members started embracing Roland's grittier sound, with fatter 808s and drum samples ripped straight from Memphis rap tapes. In a way, this was a return to form for the funk genre, which by 2018 had become modernized with cleaner mixes and contemporary vocal samples. Roland Jones's influence, especially through AP's discography, has triggered a resurgence of the old school sound, the rougher, fatter sound that helped DJ Smokey pioneer the SoundCloud funk scene all the way back in 2012. AP's shift in recruitment would pay dividends later on, with their music finding massive success outside of just SoundCloud and Spotify. In February of 2020, Pharmacist made his Always Proper debut on Bumps and Bruises 4. While his debut track seems to be more inspired by the likes of Aseri and Paolo, his subsequent independent releases show off the grittier, darker style he would later adopt. His style would evolve to become more like that of Doom Shop's producers, with grainy mixes, aggressive, clipping Memphis drums, and cowbell melodies. He showcased this style in his track North Memphis Mix. He would re-release the track through Always Proper on the Southside Runners tape in June of 2020. Soon after, his song was spreading like wildfire on TikTok. It seemed like users were mostly just using the song as background music, with the intro leading up to some big reveal at the beat drop. We've all seen this type of viral video format before with songs like Ultimate by Denzel Curry and GTG by Freddie Dredd. But what was different about North Memphis is also why I think it went viral despite Pharmacist being pretty unknown at the time. First off, the song uses an 808 cowbell as the main melody, and while this isn't uncommon in the funk scene, it certainly isn't heard too often by mainstream audiences, including TikTok users. There's also the fact, unlike a lot of viral songs, North Memphis builds up to its drop using tempo automation. Again, this technique is pretty common in funk, but to your average listener, this was a unique touch that added to the track's mystique. The tempo automation in the intro also helped create a second wave of virality. Just a couple months later, North Memphis was being used in the TikTok challenge, wherein users would attempt to blink on beat with the cowbell as the tempo increased. As an artist, one of the quickest ways to go viral is for your music to be used in a challenge of some sort. This is because social media challenges rely heavily on sharing, and every time someone hops on the bandwagon and shares their attempt at the challenge, they're also sharing your music. So unsurprisingly, Pharmacist benefited much more from this wave of virality than the first, because this time, even though the videos themselves were more trivial, his music was front and center, not just being used as background music. Always Proper's influence has never been limited to just music though. Years ago, AP's roster even included a graffiti artist and a videographer. And since then, the group has taken strong steps into the fashion scene. Since as early as 2017, they've cultivated an online store where they sell not only sound kits and physical releases, but also a variety of clothing and accessories. It was obvious from the beginning that this was an aspect of the collective that Emune was particularly passionate about. He would drop new pieces pretty frequently, and he would occasionally post brief behind-the-scenes videos showcasing the process. And in June of 2019, he even announced that he planned to open a physical Always Proper shop in Austin. After months of renovation, the shop officially opened with a drift car meet and a celebration of AP's 5th anniversary. In addition to AP merch, the shop would also feature pieces from other brands. While the pandemic may have inhibited AP from using the physical shop to its fullest potential, it hasn't stopped them from further developing their online shop, where they've continued to put out huge sound kits from Roland Jones, Kilfiger, and Cassie B. And from the looks of it, they plan to bring production tutorials to the site as well. which considering the popularity of funk tutorials on YouTube, should do pretty well. Always Proper has taken many forms since its creation in 2014. What started as a lo-fi dream team would later become one of the foremost funk collectives. Through a targeted recruitment strategy, they've been able to identify some of the most promising up-and-comers like Roland Jones and Pharmacist. Despite taking a while to get there, I think Always Proper has finally settled into the right niche. While their lo-fi roster may have gotten the ball rolling, their journey into the funk scene has kept them relevant. Thanks to Roland Jones' influence, AP has settled into a distinct sound that sets them apart. Outside of the music, other groups could certainly learn from AP's merch operation too, which I think is the first of any producer collective to have a physical location. Since starting Always Proper, Emune has embarked on a number of side projects over the years, including a streetwear brand and even another producer collective. But I think it's worth noting that today, Always Proper is the only one still active. With AP commanding his full attention, I'm excited to see where Emune takes the collective next. Maybe they'll start doing tutorials regularly, maybe they'll start doing live events at the physical shop. The sky's the limit. Whatever the case, there's no denying that Always Proper has shown us that producer collectives, especially in the funk scene, can be so much more than what you see on SoundCloud. Thanks for watching, guys. I know it's been a while, but I really love making these types of videos, and with your help, I can start making them a lot more frequently. So if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe, and let me know in the comments what topics you want to see me cover next. See you guys in the next one. Peace.